So, hi everybody, I am Keyuri Vaidya, and today's topic that I am going to be talking on is autism and mindfulness. Basically, it is a discussion of if autistic individuals can practice mindfulness and if they can understand mindfulness. So, that's the topic for today. Um, just a little bit about me. I am a counseling psychologist and a behavior therapist with about 5 years of experience. And I have my own private practice called Untie the Ropes in India, in Mumbai. And I am currently working towards my international behavior analyst certification. So that's exciting. And apart from my professional life, something little personal about me is I am a professional dancer, which is why, like, I would always resort to dancing as my mindfulness practice, right? So that kind of inspired me to get into psychology, the field of psychology, and then eventually including mindfulness practices in my sessions with kids. And particularly when I work with kids with special needs or autism, because that's one tricky topic. Like I feel not a lot of people know that they can practice mindfulness. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. It could be a new topic for some and a revision for others. So we're going to start with it. I will try and keep it a little interactive towards the end, and I give a lot of examples. So let's get into it. Just a gist about what mindfulness is. I am pretty sure most of us know it, but mindfulness is basically a practice to bring one's attention to the present moment. I mean, if we say it in layman's terms, it's basically living in the present moment. But it is basically being conscious and self aware of what you're doing in the moment. So, for example, how many of us are conscious of how we are breathing right now? I'm pretty sure because breathing is an involuntary action, not all of us kind of, you know, keep a track of, oh, I'm breathing fast right now, I'm breathing slow, I'm taking deep breaths, I have a short breath. So we don't kind of keep a track of that. So it's basically bringing awareness to the present, and it all boils down to breathing, right? Because that's something that's really important and vital to stay alive. um, Mindfulness is a topic which has gained a lot of attention in the recent time. It has been there for thousand years, in form of yoga and a lot of other practices, but currently it has been gaining a lot of attention. Yes, in the field of psychology and holistic therapies, but in other various disciplines as well. Like for example, there are a lot of companies, corporate companies, that would hire therapists and holistic practitioners to provide those kind of workshops to their employees for well-being and better quality of life. So it has been gaining a lot of attention. Also, coming back to our topic about kids and autism, there's a lot of research that says that mindfulness-based programs or mindfulness interventions, when applied in school or you know um, when they put it in their daily routine, it shows that the kids it shows improved focus and better well-being and a lot of behavioral changes, a lot of calmness, a lot of problem solving skills have improved. That's what research says. So this is like a gist of what mindfulness is. So when we talk about mindfulness, the only thing that comes to head is, okay, meditation. We close our eyes, we breathe. That's what mindfulness is. But there are a lot of other ways to practice mindfulness. Meditation, obviously, being one of the most popular ones. However, mindfulness is a very inclusive field, I would say, because there are a lot of other things that everybody can do, which is mindful, but we are not aware of it that they are mindfulness practice, like painting, dancing, body scans, guided visualizations, even just laying on the bed and just closing your eyes and just taking deep breaths. That is also mindfulness, right? So there are a lot of ways to practice mindfulness and not just sticking to meditation. However, it ultimately boils down to the fundamental aspect of breathing, because everything revolves around breathing. So even if I'm dancing, as a mindful practice, I will um, come back to my breathing and see how my breathing is, because eventually, if I am stressed out, my breathing is a little heavy, and to calm down, I need a little relaxed breathing. So my breathing needs to slow down. It has to be in a rhythm. So everything boils down eventually to breathing. Like I said, breathing is an involuntary action, and um, we generally do not pay attention to it unless we consciously sit and we're like, okay, this is how I'm breathing. So meditation is not the only way to practice mindfulness. There's a lot more. We will speak about that in the other slides. I'm pretty sure most of all us already know what this is, but just to gist, a few characteristics of autism is repetitive behavior, speech, or routines. They like most of the kids or adults who have autism, they like routines. They work better with routines. Um, there is a little bit of lack of social skills. Again, it depends from individual to individual, but understanding social cues being the most important one, and most researchers, they don't understand a lot of social cues. Making friends and forming relationships. And I would like to again emphasize that it is individualized and it depends from one person to another. Sensory sensitivities for sure. Um, Sensitivity to light, sound, touch, being overwhelmed, automatic sensory sensitivities, stimming, so those kind of things as well. Motor coordination challenges. Again, with this, it's not with most, I feel, but fine motor skills and gross motor skills, maybe they develop a little later, but some might have it, some might not. So that is one other characteristic. Empathy being my favorite topic. So there is a lot of research. I feel it's a very controversial topic, that autistic individuals do not understand what empathy is. They're not empathetic. There is also research that says that it is very variable. It depends from one person to another, but majority people I speak to say that they are not empathetic. But I would love to touch upon this topic towards the end. But I do feel that most of them, like 90% of autistic individuals, are empathetic, and I will talk about that later. Right. Is mindfulness for autistic individuals? Now, when I speak to people who are not much aware about what autism is, and people who have not had one-on-one experience with autistic individuals, or seen autistic individuals and only derived their understanding from movies and books, I feel when I ask them that question, they're like, oh no, I don't think so, autistic individuals can you know practice mindfulness, because they're very hyper, they run from one place to another, they do not understand what mindfulness is. So that is what comes from somebody who does not understand what autism is. But I feel the application of mindfulness for individuals with autism has gained a lot of recognition. A lot of people have started touching upon and researching on that topic, and it is one of the promising techniques or interventions to help children and adults with autism to regulate their emotion, regulate their sensory sensitivity. So it is starting to grow. It is People have started including it in therapies and their daily routines. Mindfulness is adapted to suit the needs of individuals on the autism spectrum, focusing on, again, cultivating present moment awareness and fostering self-regulation skills, which I feel is very, very important, because sometimes they tend to zone out, or the attention span probably would be a little shorter. um, Research, again, like I said, research suggests that mindfulness interventions, if tailored according to an individual, can contribute a lot of benefits, and also improves quality of life of that particular individual and the caregivers and the family. um, and a few benefits from practicing mindfulness, like with us, but mainly for autistic individual, is sensory regulation. Something that, when I speak to a lot of parents, is one of the main concerns, is they're always flapping their hands, or They're always twirling, walking on their toes. So that is one important thing. Emotional regulation, because they do experience heightened emotions. So one of that, improved attention and focus, something that we all work in the session with the individuals with autism. Social skills, very important. Some individuals do experience anxiety and depression, but they're not able to communicate that, so it helps with anxiety and depression as well. Improved sleep patterns, and support, again, like I said, for caregivers and educators. So these are a few benefits, um, few amongst a lot, benefits of what mindfulness can do for an autistic individual. Right. Just 1 minute. Okay. How can we introduce mindfulness to autistic individuals? What ways can we practice mindfulness with them? So one being that, taking basics and making them innovative. I'm not sure, like some people think they don't know, oh, why do we have to, over exaggerate things? Why do we have to animate things? Why do we have to build so much motivation for them to do something? um, it's because we need them to understand that it's something that's going to help them and it's something positive, right? So, a few ways that you can introduce mindfulness, like we know, like let's take breathing, for example. Some individuals might be able to sit, close their eyes, and follow your instructions to take deep breaths and inhale and exhale, but some might not be able to, because as we know, ASD is divided into three categories, right? Level one, level two, and level three. Somebody at a level three would be able to understand, perhaps. Okay, let's close our eyes. We're going to inhale 5 counts, exhale 5 counts. They would be, but somebody at level one would not. They would not, probably, they would not understand what mindfulness is, understand what concept it is. But do we really need them to understand what mindfulness is and how it's going to help them? I feel as long as they're doing it and as long as it's helping them, I think it should be in their daily routine. So, for example, for breathing, bubble breathing. So, what I do is I take a wand, a bubble wand, and I go like, okay, we're gonna now blow a big bubble. So, we're gonna slowly blow the bubble. So, that is also one practice, right? Because they have to inhale, take a deep breath, and then exhale slowly. So that is one way you can practice. Something else that you can do is, this should be practiced with a lot of supervision and a lot of safeguarding. Blowing candles is also one, and is one of the most motivating activities when I do it in sessions with a few kids. Blowing candles, because they love it, right? You can pair it with the birthday song. So there's a lot of other things that you can do. Another thing, let's give you one more example, is smelling the flower. Um, that's also fun. Like you take a flower, okay, we're gonna smell the flower, breathe in and breathe out, and then whatever individualized instructions you want to give. Um, Doing it as play can help a lot. Um, Doing it as pretend play, like getting the bee, okay, the bee is going to smell the flower now. Do it with the bee, breathe in and breathe out. So something like that. Like I've said here, like for example, explaining the concept of deep breathing is individualized and depends on the person's understanding. So it has to be innovative, it has to be motivating, and it has to be interesting for them to do it, because we don't want that to be a work thing, right? Oh my God, I have to do it again. We don't want that to happen. So yes, introducing deep breathing can involve experimenting with a lot of activities, like I mentioned. Blowing bubbles, blowing confetti is also another one. It's fun also. So blowing confetti and blowing out candles and blowing balloons as well. So you could practice a lot of those things. Then these are a few mindfulness practices that have proven to be very effective. Dancing on music. A lot of kids love music. So just playing and just letting them move the way they want, like just, guiding them, like, okay, we're going to shake hands, we're going to shake legs, let's shake our head. So that is also one of the most um, happy, and it brings a lot of body awareness. And I say it because there's a lot of research on dance movement therapy, especially with autistic individuals, and it has proven to have a lot of improvement in their understanding about their body awareness, social skills, and emotional regulation. Painting is another one. We obviously use paint, we do painting with them, right? We give them a brush, let's do it this way. Sometimes you can also try using hands, and doing like a messy paint, like there is art therapy for adults, right? What art therapy consists of is, most of the sessions, what we do is have a canvas, um, take paints, put your hands in it, and just kind of whatever you're feeling, you just kind of rub it around. So you could do that with the kids as well. Kids, I mean, they do love it, but others as well. Like if they are very sensory and they like textures, I think this would be a great winner. Cooking as well. Cooking is for most of us is a mindful practice, right? It helps us calm down, and edibles is always a good reinforcer. So cooking is one, eating being another one. I do teach a lot of mindful eating to my other clients. Just giving them different textures and getting them to smell the food first, and then touch the food, see the food, and then eat the food, and get them to hear the sound of it. So I think that would also be a great mindful practice, making sure that they do not have anything else with them, especially a screen or the iPad and something digital. Sitting as well is a great mindful practice because it helps you calm down. Like if they're overwhelmed with something, sorry, and if they sit down, it's really really going to help them calm down. Because if I'm sitting and I'm just staring at something, it's going to do wonders. So that so sitting and staring, musical instruments, just the sound, playing in the playground. We think that it's going to be overstimulating. Yes, but is it going to calm them as well? Yes, because they are happy. Happiness equals to calmness and relaxation. Stimming. Now, stimming is something, in my opinion, is okay until and unless it is not getting into the way of their daily lives. It is not self-harming or it's not harmful for somebody else. So stimming can be a mindfulness practice because it helps them regulate their emotions, their sensory needs. It helps them. So I don't think stimming is particularly bad. I think it's great. It's a great way to do it, and it can be introduced to them. It can be, you can make them aware about their stimming. You can tell them like, okay, if this is happening, you can stim and regulate yourself. So just a few examples of stimming is, some autistic individuals have vocal stimming, right? They would be like or ah. In yoga, when we're meditating, there is a technique of humming. So just the bee hums, like you just close your eyes, you close your ears, and you hum, which is great. We all do it, so why not them? So those things can be introduced. Um, Something else, which is exploring different sounds. Just making sounds with them, like ee, ooh, just having stretched sounds, which also involves breathing because they need to breathe in to have a longer sound. So something like that. Visual stimming, like we have sensory bottles. That is something as well. Finger flicking and twirling. Now, this, for example, I'm sitting right now and I'm just doing this. So I am basically stimming. Stimming equals fidgeting. So I think that is also okay as long as we make them aware about it. We need to tell them, okay, this is when we're going to do it, telling them what why it helps them, what are the uses of it. So I think finger flicking, twirling as well, because they're not going to keep twirling like throughout the day, right? They can twirl, and if you think that that's becoming too much, you can stop them. But twirling as well is a great practice, I feel. um, Rocking. Now again, everybody does it. Rocking, I've seen people do it, shaking their legs. For rocking, you can use a rocking chair. making it functional. Body tapping is one of the most important, and I feel a great way to introduce mindfulness. One way is it's also a grounding exercise. So you can just be like, okay, we're going to tap our body. So they just tap their whole body slightly. And if you notice, it's going to really, really help them and calm them down. And it's also a good feeling, like gentle taps. So body tapping is a great one. Jumping, jumping on the ground is also another grounding exercise, um, or a mindfulness practice that can be practiced. And we do it in daily life, so should be included for them as well. Tickles, most of them are very sensory, so they love the tickles using feathers and fingers and using just a comb. So things like that. Tickles could also be something that could be used, everything that calms them. And, if they're in the present, like, okay, I am tickling myself, I'm looking at it, so I'm in the present moment. Um, if somebody likes smell, using essential oils, something that we already know. So stimming is one very important practice, I think, should not be seen in negative light. Um, how are common autism characteristics addressed mindfully? Now, common autism characteristics can be addressed mindfully by incorporating practices that foster self-awareness, emotional regulation, like having um, individuals who are verbal and they understand, or who are able to communicate much more, probably for them, using emotional thermometers, having them in the room, getting them to journal, stuff like that, and not forcing it on them is very important. Like, for example, the repetitive behaviors, mindfulness can help individuals become aware of their repetitive behaviors and redirect their focus on alternative activities or sensitivities. Like I said, all the examples I gave, they are examples of how repetitive behavior can be redirected, still being repetitive, how they can be directed into functional and something that is useful for them. Lack of social skills. Mindfulness practices helps a lot of social skills. If practicing mindful listening, being a very important one, is just playing on music. Okay, now we're going to listen to some music. Tell me what you hear. Just like a small 2-minute exercise does wonders. Even observing social cues, just sitting and asking, oh, how is that person feeling? Why do you think that person is feeling such a thing? It's also theory of mind, but yes, that. And like I said, sensory sensitivity, mindfulness techniques, having sensory stations, like different textured things, different smelling things, different looking things, could be introduced, and could be, that environment could be made that way. Um, so they understand their bodily sensations as well. Like, for example, if I am touching here or if I am itching here, I don't like that sensation. I might like it on my neck. So things like that. So they can explore their own body. They can be aware of their own body. Motor coordination as well. Dancing being the best, doing mindful movements, stretching and jumping and all those things helps a lot. Then we have empathy. I am going to keep this for the end, but loving kindness meditation is something that proves to help a lot in the skill of empathy. Loving kindness meditation is basically getting them to say good things or send love to their loved ones. Like, I love my mom, I love my dad because, or just, drawing a picture of them hugging their mom. Just sending out love, being grateful. That's all the meditation is about. They can do it closing their eyes, lying down, sitting the way they want. So that is something that does build the skill of empathy. And what do we need to keep in mind when we're introducing mindfulness to autistic individuals? It should not be forced, and it cannot be forced, because we do not want to associate that to something negative. Oh my God. For example, if I be like, okay, we're going to do it now. And if they don't feel like doing it the way you are teaching them, we back off. We do not force them, because if we force them, they're going to be like, oh no, I don't want to do it. And then eventually they're going to run away from all the other practices. And we don't want that. We want them to have that in the routine. We want them to like it. And we want that to be the most reinforcing activity that they do. Um, it should be individualized, like as we know. And it has to be practiced every day and put in their routine, in their daily schedule. It has to be there because it's like any other habit. It's a habit you have to form. It's like swimming. If you just go for one day, you're not going to learn how to swim. So if you practice mindfulness for one day, you're not going to be a mindful individual. So we need to put that in our in their daily practices. And if the caregiver or the family does it with them, well, it's a win-win situation because both of them are getting the perks of mindfulness, right? So it should be put in every day to um, difference, see a difference, but being mindful that it is different for everybody and not everybody is at the same pace. Like somebody would show improvement or progress in like 1 week and somebody might take 1 month. So just being mindful of that. Benefits of mindfulness, like I said, it's the same for us as well. Stress reduction, improved emotional regulation, enhanced focus, anxiety and depression management, enhanced well-being, improved sleep quality, enhanced resilience, and introduces empathy to them. These are a few benefits, and I emphasize on it because these are some things that maybe autistic individuals don't realize, but when we see as a third person, we see it and we need to help them manage these things. There's this one particular research that I really, really liked. It's by sample. It was done in 2019. It is just a review of current evidence around yoga and mindfulness practices for young people with autism. So, mindfulness practices, like I said, is gaining a lot of attention and is one of the options for um, individuals. Findings also indicate that yoga and other mindfulness based programs show improvement in social communication, motivation, social responsiveness. Yes, responsiveness being very important because um, if I sit there and be like, hi, and then somebody does not respond, then that's where we work, right? But yoga and other practices help them. This is just one small example, but then it has a lot of layers to it. High tolerance, amongst many others. High tolerance is also something that I find caregivers being concerned about. Um, so that's something that really really helps with it helps with high tolerance. However, like I say, because a new it's not a new thing, but it's a new concept, and especially in the field of autism, I feel it's relatively new. There is not a lot of research um, done in that field. It is less explored, and I think a lot of researchers should explore because there is a lot to find out. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of mindfulness practices that can be researched with autistic individuals. Um, but in my opinion, every study conducted in the area of mindfulness relating to autism shows a certain amount of positive impact. So there is a lot of scope for, again, future research. There is also several relevance evidence-based mindfulness therapies that have been researched. Dance movement therapy, art therapy, and drama therapy being the highly researched ones. But I would like to talk about sound healing, sound journey, sound experience. Everybody calls it differently. But I think sound experience is a great way, gonging and sound bowls, because it helps with a lot of relaxation. It brings in vibrations. It is one of the holistic therapies. But I'd like to share this incident um, where one lady that I work with, she does sound healing and sound experience. So she was doing one session in a special needs school, and there were three kids in particular who were very busy. Like they would move from one place to another. They were not able to sit for a long period of time. Their attention span was less, all those characteristics that an autistic individual might possess, all those things. And she started with sound. They did take a little while to settle in, but it was a 30-minute session, and surprisingly, they fell asleep for about 20 minutes. And when their parents came in, they were like, we have never seen them this still. We have never seen them this calm. And after the session, the mother was like, he was responding much more and was much more calmer. So I think sound experience is something that should be researched. I am not sure how many have an experience with it, but I think it's a great holistic practice. This is something I want to touch on. Probably is I'm deviating from the topic a little bit, but like I said, empathy being a controversial topic, most of them feel that autistic individuals do not understand others' emotional perspective, social cues. Right. So, to some extent. But I feel, let me give you an example. So there is this little girl that I work with, and she is very sensitive. She understands, oh, that person is sad, that person is angry. But understanding is one thing, but going up and doing something about it is another. So there was this little girl I was working with, and she saw one of her classmates cry. What she did was she did not know what to do, but according to her understanding, she went to him, she sat next to him, and she just held his hand and just tapped his shoulder. And she's like, he is crying. So that is her way of being empathetic. So I don't think that autistic individuals are not empathetic. Even, for example, like an individual at level 1 autism, right? People would say, oh, they don't understand anything, they're not empathetic. But if you see, um, for example, if it's the child, the mom, and the dad, if you see the mom and the dad fighting, and if the child sees it, they have an expression on their face. They kind of go back like, oh no, what's happened? There's something wrong. Or they would start crying, or they would quiet down. That is also empathy, I feel. They do understand, oh, they are fighting. There is something wrong here. So I do feel that they, autistic individuals, have the ability to be empathetic. So that is just a small summary on mindfulness and how we can introduce mindfulness to the lives of autistic individuals. And that's it. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. And yeah, that was it. If anybody wants to share any instances, any practices, anything. I hope everybody liked the topic. Um, just sorry, I forgot to say this. These are a few research studies. If anybody wants to take a screenshot and read through it, and yeah, if you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me personally, you could reach out. You could go through you can send me a personal message, and yeah, through the comment box on the video that Autism Connect has shared. Um, Great. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I shall see you next time. Bye.